Welcome, everyone, to Luxury Cruising. I am so excited that my first guest on the podcast is a dear friend of mine who also happens to be a travel advisor, fellow cruise enthusiast, Michelle Worth. So, without further ado, Michelle, please tell everyone all about you, what you do, why you love cruising, all the things.
Everything. Okay. Thank you so much, Crystal. I'm so honored to be your first guest. I I was not a cruise enthusiast to begin with. Let me just say that. I was one of those people that wasn't so sure about cruises, but let's just say I became a travel advisor in 2013. And prior to that, in 2007, I had taken my very first cruise. Before that, I thought, like a lot of people do, that, "Oh my gosh, there's no way. I cannot imagine not becoming bored on a cruise ship." What did I know, right? So, I became a travel advisor. I specialized in cruises. I live in the state of Florida, which made that very easy, and I fell in love with cruising. Absolutely fell in love with it.
Awesome. Awesome. So let's get to what we wanted to talk about today, which is your luxury cruise. So tell us about your cruise, your ship. What made you decide on this particular, whether it's the ship, the room? What were you looking for, specifically around luxury?
That was a great question, actually, because I've realized recently that everybody has their own definition of what luxury is. It's not
Like,
the same for everybody. Okay. So in my life, especially maybe at that time, I was not living in the lap of luxury. We were coming off of COVID and I was coming from living in a camper, for lack of better
an
terms.
RV. I
And so
remember
an
you
RV,
were basically
yeah,
living in an RV. Yeah, but it was a beautiful RV. To be
it
fair,
was
it was a beautiful RV.
it was beautiful, but, after a little while, that 400 square foot becomes
Like living in a cruise ship.
a little yeah, pretty much, except without the luxury, so here you go. Anyway, I really wanted an elevated experience. I wanted to experience, just what it felt like to go on vacation and be pampered. Any mom who's ever been on vacation with their kids knows the opposite of that. So I wanted to experience going on vacation and really being pampered. And I wanted my husband to experience it also because I knew all he had to do was experience it and he'd be hooked. So the way I chose
Awesome.
the ship and the way I chose the cruise line is I was a very huge fan of Royal Caribbean. And so for me, it felt very natural to look at celebrity. First of all, they match status. So that's very important. That was important to me because I had some status on Royal Caribbean. And, you don't want to lose that, right? You get some perks. So they match some status. And then I thought I was able to pinpoint, which, I do this for clients. So I was able to do this for myself, but I was able to pinpoint an amazing itinerary I had opened up that I really wanted to do. And then there was one of their promotions that they run. They run different promotions different times a year, but there was a promotion coming up. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this and I'm going to get myself a suite on where it's on a butler level. So for me, it was the Sky Suite. And oh my gosh, I was like I mean, I fell in love. I fell.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us about the suite. Like, what were some of the like luxurious features about the suite? Before I get to that, I wanted to say, like, there are so many things that you just said that I would love to pull on. And one of the things that really stood out is that everybody has a different definition of luxury, right? And that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about on this podcast, which is what I think is luxurious might be completely different from you or from someone else. So I really just want to thank you for pointing that out. So with that, please tell us what were the luxurious features of this stateroom?
All right. So I'll try to paint the picture because it was just magical to me. So when we first arrived and we opened the door to our stateroom, we walked in, and to the left was a beautiful, beautiful um powder room. And that's how I have to put it because it wasn't even a powder room. So a powder room would be so it was a beautiful, luxurious master bathroom. I mean, that's really how I have to put it. So we not only had a tub area, nice tub area, and a shower, we had double sinks. It was just all luxurious finishes. We had beautiful products. It was just the mirror lit up, or it opened
Oh,
up if you wanted
that's
to
nice.
while you were washing your face or taking your makeup off at night, instead of looking at yourself in the mirror, you could look out to the ocean, I guess, if you could see it, if it's not pitch black. But it's amazing. Or you could watch the sunrise in the morning as you're, washing your face in the morning.
Did the mirror, like, descend, or did they do something so that then you could, like, see through it?
So it had so now, gosh, I have to remember. So let's say I've been on a few ships since then and beautiful hotels since then. So I hope I'm remembering this correctly. But if I remember correctly on that one, um, it had actually a glass partition that also had a mirror that slid in front of it.
Oh,
So if you were looking in the mirror, it was closed and you had complete privacy in the bathroom. You did not see out, nobody saw in, and you had the mirror. But if you chose to open it all the way, there was like a window behind that mirror, and then you could see straight out into the room.
wow.
And picture this. So let's walk out of the bathroom now and come around. That mirror was basically over the bed of the room. So when you came around, that bed was facing the full wall of glass
Wow,
and facing
beautiful.
the ocean.
Yeah.
I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is
Yeah.
ours? We get this?" I mean, of course, I knew what I was going into because I'm a
Right,
travel advisor, right?
right.
But I've memorized these things. But I
But it's amazing to see, like, it's one thing to watch a YouTube video about it and people are, like, doing their little room tours, but to walk in and, like, see it in person, it takes your breath away, like, I know
Oh,
it's
wait,
just
let me go
amazing.
again. Let me go again. So we see it in person a lot, even as travel advisors, right? Because we get to do these ship inspections where we'll be at a conference or
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that. It was, I get to experience this
Oh,
for
yeah.
a solid week. Me,
Wow.
I get to be. I'm
Yeah,
not
that
just
is
seeing it
totally
for
different.
somebody else now. I'm
Yeah.
experiencing it. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Let's back up one second because before we started recording, we were talking about the Edge class. And if I remember correctly, these rooms are only on Edge class. Like, I'm sure they have high-end suites on Solstice class and Millennium class. Those are the other classes of celebrity ships. But if I remember correctly, like these rooms with like the mirror that opens up to see the basically the ocean, that is specific to the Edge class ship. Is that correct?
I okay, let me tell you I may not tell you correct. I believe so. I do believe so, but because things change all the time whenever these ships go back into dry dock, sometimes
Right.
they'll
Yeah.
update them to something else. But yes, I do believe that is true. If you think of it this way, some of the older ships, which my goodness, and you can attest to this because you've been on one, they do not represent older ships. I mean, they don't represent as older ships.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it if you didn't know it, right? But I mean, think about so they bring them up to date in the ways that work for those particular ships. So not every single thing will be identical as the new build, right?
Right.
They also, as you know, just with even with Royal Caribbean, but in the same way, update the ships just a little bit
Right.
every single new rebuild. So they have, 5 versions of um an Oasis class ship. Every single version just has a slightly different upgrade.
Right. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So tell us, because the information you were giving me before we started about the Edge class ships, I think is so important. So if you could just go back and just talk for a minute about the Edge class and just, I mean, it really is because they really, really are a step way above and beyond whatever was before that. And I can't remember if it's Solstice or Millennium class. And they're just completely different ships. And I remember when, Celebrity Edge first came out and the royal carpet, people saw the royal carpet, and we all of us in the cruise community, we lost our minds. We're like, "What is this orange thing sticking out? Like, what in the world?" And now it's just become such a hallmark of the Edge class. I think people would be the opposite. The next class, if it doesn't have a royal carpet, they're gonna lose their mind, like, "Wait, where's the royal carpet?"
Yeah. You'd think that, except they always seem to outdo themselves somehow, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah. But what you're referring to, I believe, is my impression of how they really upgraded when they went to that edge class and what about that made it feel so luxurious to me. And I want to say that, first of all, think of it this way. Um, so, to give people some analogies they may be able to identify with, right? If you've ever been to Disney World and, you've been to one park or you've been to all of Disney World, right? You've still been to Disney if you've only been to one park, but if you're
yeah,
visiting Disney World and you're getting the entire experience, wow, So in that way, or like having, yeah, it's that kind of feel. So it's everything you love about Celebrity, if you've ever sailed Celebrity before on one of their smaller ships, only better and more glammed.
yeah,
So there's a bit more glam, there's a bit more space per person
yeah,
on that ship, which is huge in the luxury market.
yep,
There's all these neat spaces on there that feel very curated just for you. There's something for everyone on that ship. And that's just the ship as a whole. So that's not even the
yeah.
specialized areas, which is a whole nother story, which is amazing.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So you mentioned that this was, like, in the butler class. So what does that mean, and, like, what does it mean to have a butler, and were there any other, like, special amenities that came with the stateroom?
So, yes, when we first arrived, when I was describing walking around and seeing the bed that was facing out to the full glass wall. Now, mind you, the curtains when we arrived were closed. So, but the butler said, "Oh, wait a second, let me show you." And he presses a button and the
Oh, yeah.
curtains opened to reveal, in this case, it actually was,
The port, probably.
the port. Yeah, but later on it reveals the ocean, just spectacular. And then also there was now, to be fair, this was I'm talking about an experience that happened 2 years ago. Because I've been very, very busy with lots
Mhm.
of other things
Yeah,
since then. So occasionally things change. And so the experience may be slightly different now than it was at that time. And also promotions change. Keep that in
yeah.
mind as well. So, but we walked in and on our table, there was a bottle of champagne. There were two champagne glasses. There was a flower. It was beautiful. Um, and I just immediately transitioned to the person who gets pampered on vacation.
Awesome. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Awesome. So, tell us about sort of like the service aspect of it. Obviously, the butler, because I feel like with luxury comes just great service. So, just overall, whether it was the butler or something else, were there any like highlights around the service that were really, really luxurious?
Oh, for sure. I mean, let me just start by saying the butler was spectacular. Truly, truly spectacular. Now, to be fair, I don't the ships were maybe not as full at that time as they are going out right now. Doesn't matter. These butlers are spectacular. They really are there, and focused on you. So that makes it so nice. And what does that mean? That means if you have, a standing request, they're going to make sure that that is facilitated for you. Many times it was the butler themselves facilitating it. Sometimes it would be somebody on their team, I guess, facilitating it, but it didn't matter. It was always impeccable. Um, it meant that you had a concierge that was just for you. So, as part of the benefits, when you are in the retreat class, which is what it's called from that suite, that sky suite, which is the entry suite on, when you're in that class, you have a place to go called the retreat,
Mhm.
which is a spectacularly beautiful place on the edge ships, especially. Um, and there you have at your fingertips your concierge people to book your dining, excursions, um, future cruises, and you also can get your cocktails, you can have a snack, you could have, and when I say snack, I mean a beautiful snack that was curated by the chef.
Yeah, it's not like it's not a slice of pizza from,
Oh,
behind the
no, no,
glass.
no, no, no. I've seen some of the most spectacular sunsets while we were having a
Mhm.
cocktail from that area.
Is it
Um,
like a lounge or
it is. It's a lounge and it's a very ample lounge, let me
yeah,
say, which makes a difference.
yeah,
It's very ample, and I've seen it expand and, just each ship has a beautiful area. It's gorgeous. Yeah, and very comfortable, and you really get to know also because it's only for a small amount of people. It's
yeah.
only for the,
Retreat class, people in the retreat
thank
class.
you. Yes, the retreat class. And so you really get to know the concierge people. They get to know you. It's lovely. It's really, really nice. And when you tend to go back again and again, even if it's on a different ship, you may run into one of those people because
Yeah,
they may move around from ship to ship, but they love being there. They love serving in the retreat class. And so
yeah,
they tend to stay and they always remember you. It's amazing.
yeah, that's amazing. That sounds amazing. So, you mentioned food. And so I know that on a lot of ships, when you go into a suite class, there's specific dining room. Tell us in general about the food, specialty dining, a specific dining. I think there's a specific dining room on Celebrity for retreat class. So tell us about that.
Okay, great. So let me just say that the dining on Celebrity in the main dining rooms is wonderful. So we'll start there. It's wonderful. So it's really good. I was just there, as was you, right? Last February, this past February, and everything was wonderful. I thought it was very good. I didn't have any complaints at all. I thought it was actually one of the better dining experiences for main dining rooms on cruise ships. So, but when you're in a retreat class, you have the option to also dine at what they call,
Is it Luminaire?
thank you, Lumine.
Luminaire. Yeah.
And Lumine is a beautiful, first of all, it's a much smaller dining room. It's beautiful. but it's only for retreat class guests. So you show up and, you will be seated and greeted and seated every day, just as you would if you showed up to specialty dining, except you will be seated in an area and the waiters get to know you. They are they are servicing less people. There's more of them
Yeah.
servicing less people, so you're getting more personalized attention. They're getting to know what you like to drink and what
Yeah.
that you love to
Love
start with
that.
a starter, or you love 3 starters to start, not to mention the food. Ah,
Yeah.
best burgers at lunchtime, best burgers. So let me divert for a second. Anybody who's been on a Carnival ship and had a Guy's burger
Yeah.
will understand this, okay? They're spectacular, right? I'm not a burger person, but I go on a Carnival ship, which I haven't been in years, but my mouth will water at the thought of a Guy's burger. So when I first tried the burger at in the retreat, ah, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So let me just
Mm.
say, yeah, this is an elevated, amazing burger.
Wow.
And I crave their burger. So it's just to die for. But so is everything. The menus are amazing. They have a great breakfast, lunch, and dinner menu.
Yeah.
It is, yeah, just wonderful. It really is. I can't say enough about it. So now if you happen to be fortunate enough to have snagged a aqua class retreat suite,
Yeah.
okay,
Whoa.
so
Yeah.
that would be then you also have on top of that another specialty dining called Blue. Now, I want to just back up a little bit because you can get Blue if you choose an aqua class cabin, which does not have retreat access. A regular aqua class cabin will give you access to Blue. So that's a way you can elevate an experience
Oh,
on a
nice.
little slightly slighter budget. Okay. But you
Good
can still
tip.
elevate
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
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 Okay, because Blue is also a wonderful, wonderful restaurant.
Mhm.
It's exclusive, very, very exclusive. It's exclusive to the
Yeah.
Aqua guests. So a retreat class guest that's not in an Aqua suite cannot even go to Blue. So that's how exclusive Blue is.
Yeah.
Okay. And Blue has your healthier options. It has farm to table type options and rave reviews. Rave
Yeah.
reviews. Now, I've not
Definitely. Yeah.
personally been, to be fair, but I have had so many clients, that's all they'll do.
They
They
love
love it.
blue. Yeah, yeah. And, I just wanna mention too, like, we're talking about and you're talking about these small restaurants and, exclusive access, and, some people might think that's a little, like, "Who cares?" I if you're a cruise enthusiast like we are, the main dining room, although the food on I the food in most main dining rooms is pretty good, if not very good. But the serving staff usually has a lot of tables and they do their best, but you don't get that kind of attention that I think when you want an elevated, luxurious experience, right? It's like going to your neighborhood, like teeny tiny 10 table restaurant, right? That only has two servers, right? You just like it. And it is true. It doesn't take them long because they're very good to get to know you, to get to know what you like. To just make sure you want your drink, the same drink that you've had. Like, yes, I want my, whatever, sparkling water.
Mhm.
My husband's a Coke Zero. The waiter just asked, like, Coke Zero? Yes, thank you. Right. And so there is a lot to be said for a small dining room experience. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Anything around, like, the entertainment or the activities that you feel like, um, whether it's regards to the room or just the ship in general, really stood out?
Oh gosh. I mean, yeah, I could go on and on. So back to the retreat class. If you're in a retreat class, your butler will reserve space for you for the headline shows. So that's a very
Like,
nice feature.
yes.
the you have the retreat. I don't think we talked about this, right? The retreat area, deck area, which is amazing. And
Oh, like,
depend
out in the sun, like, instead of being in the
yes,
main pool deck. Oh, so you don't have to
yes, yes,
fight for the loungers.
yes. Yes, and that's also exclusive to retreat guests, and it's beautiful. I mean, some of them have, little pools with swings. They've got their own bar. They've got table
Yeah,
service with for meals and stuff you can eat out there. They've got, it's wonderful. It really is. It just, again, it elevates it. So think of it this way: the ultimate in luxury, right, would
yeah,
probably be your private yacht that you can charter
yeah,
or something
mhm,
like that, right?
yeah,
Then you have your small ship experiences,
mhm, yep,
right? Again, much more attentive. It's very exclusive experiences, that kind of thing. Then you have your ship within a ship experiences, and
yeah,
that's what we're talking about here.
yep,
So within a beautiful upscale but mass market ship like you have with Celebrity, you have the retreat class or the aqua class that gives you an elevated ship within a ship experience.
yeah, that's beautiful, that's beautiful. What would you think was the most if you had to think back, like, what was the most luxurious aspect of this trip for you?
Waking up every morning. And so we have for years and years, even when we're in the regular staterooms, it does not matter. We will decide the night before we go to sleep what time we want to wake up in the morning, and we will order our coffee to the room.
Yeah,
And so we did that every day. And so every morning, our butler or somebody would come deliver the coffee to our room at precisely the time that we had. Usually it's a little bit of a time
right,
frame,
yeah,
right? And they would come in and they would open up or we would have already done it, and we would have coffee in bed as we're watching the sun rise
oh
on
my
the
goodness,
ocean right
that
outside.
sounds
I mean, it was
amazing.
just spectacular every
That
day.
sounds amazing. Wow, wow.
Oh, wait, one more thing. So if you are part of aqua class in any form, and if you're not, so there's always little tricks and things. This
Yeah,
is where being a travel advisor or booking with a travel advisor really makes a difference. But there's little things you can do to elevate other experiences too. But even though we had an elevated experience, we wanted to elevate it a little bit more. So we got spa passes, and you could get like Persian garden passes, things
yeah,
like that. And we were on, we weren't too far from where that is. And that's another thing it's all these little ways to just elevate. And that, again, going back to what we said in the very, very beginning,
yeah.
that is different to different people.
Right. Absolutely, absolutely. Because like, me personally, like, the Persian garden, I'm like, I don't really feel like laying on a heated lounger for hours at a time on my cruise. Like, that's just not me. But for other people, that is the ultimate because the Persian garden that I have seen, you have a beautiful view, right? You've got these windows. So for some people, like, that's kind of like waking up to the sunshine, right? Or to the sunrise with your coffee in bed. So, yeah, and I think we will cover those kinds of things here is like, how do you create luxury, for yourself? So amazing, amazing. Do you have any other luxurious travel planned, cruise or otherwise in the near future?
So right at this moment, we had such a busy, oh my goodness, the last 6 months, we have not stopped
I'm right
traveling.
there
So
with
we
you,
have
sister. Yeah.
just, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm actually in my next phase of this year where I'm in more of a planning and business phase and I'm pouring into my agents. But um, we just came back from an amazing trip, my mother and I, to Napa. And so next year, I have a few trips that I'm planning on having them be open to everybody. So it's a trip I want to plan
Mhm.
or I want to be part of, but I want to open it up. So it's open to our all of our advisors, to their clients, to anybody who really would like to participate on one of these trips, either as individuals or as part of this group, a small group. So one of them is going to be an AMA Waterways river cruise because, as you know, I
Yeah.
love AMA Waterways.
Mhm.
I love river cruising and I want to introduce people to it. So
Yeah.
I've got a lot of clients and friends who have mentioned to me over the years, oh, I think I'd like to experience that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We're doing one of those. I am planning another trip to Napa that's going to mimic to some degree the trip that I took this year with my mother because it was spectacular. It's just wonderful. And I want to do that again. I want to offer that to people. We're going to be doing a New Year, New You trip in January on Virgin Voyages. So that is a whole different,
Seems like a different vibe.
it's a different way of elevating a cruise experience. Let me just say that. And I have not personally experienced it yet. So I understand what you're saying. I've I've done so much research on it. The reason I haven't experienced it yet, to be honest, is when it first came out, my feeling was, yeah, I don't know that that's for me.
Yeah.
Since then, they've changed their vibe a little, let me just say. This
I
was
think
not just, oh,
yeah.
misunderstood, okay?
Yeah.
Their vibe when they first came into the market versus what happened in those 2 years that people weren't really cruising, they were amazing. They did market research. They got as many advisors as they could on their ships, and then they took all their advice and they improved upon it.
Yeah.
So now that vibe is something I very much
Yep.
believe that I would resonate with, and I can't wait to experience it. So I'm gonna, we'll
Well,
have some
yeah.
guinea pigs along with us.
Well, we're definitely having you back to talk about Alma Waterways, and maybe even an elevated Virgin experience. But what is your dream cruise?
My dream cruise. Well, I have 2. I don't know which one is more. So one would be a maybe 10-night private charter yacht experience with my entire family.
Oh,
That would
that's
be
amazing.
that's one for sure. And somewhere like the Mediterranean
Yeah.
or, somewhere like that. My second would be like a 3-month world cruise.
You and me, baby. You and me. We are on
I
there.
really
Yeah.
you know what?
Just for us.
I will we should really plan. I mean, we really should just coordinate, whatever. Whenever that time is, we should
Yes.
coordinate. I think we'd have a
Absolutely.
blast.
Absolutely. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. Let all the listeners know, like, if they want to get in touch with you, if they love the idea. I mean, I don't know if this is going to come out or if people are not listening, hear it in real time, what it's going to be in relation to when these trips and when these group trips are happening. But if someone is listening and maybe those trips have passed, but I'm sure you're gonna have new trips planned. And so yeah, just let anybody listening know like how they might be able to get in touch with you, how they might be able to get on one of those trips.
Definitely. Thank you. Probably the best way to catch up with us, get in touch with one of our advisors would be to go to our ever changing and evolving website at travelsimplyinspired.com. So
I'll put that in the show notes.
okay, great. From there, you could contact me. You could contact any of the agents. And I think from there, you can also get on our Facebook VIP page, which is a fairly new page, but we are evolving that as well and growing that. And that is going to be the first place we're going to communicate any big news, any trips that we're putting together, any
Yeah.
exclusive specials, or any of that. And when we're hiring, we'll mention it there too for anybody that might be interested.
Yeah, and being a travel advisor. Well,
Yeah,
awesome. Well, thank you again so much for being here. I hope you had as much fun as I did. This was so
of course.
fun. And I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. Bye.
Can't wait. Thank you.